Hello and welcome back to the Varietal Show. If you have been here before and you haven't been here before, where have you been? I'm here this time with Felix, my previously unannounced guest, because I like to keep you on the edge of your seat out there in Chatland. This is the Varietal Show. Varietal Literature is a group of writers from Vancouver who kind of do stuff together. This is one of them. And in keeping with our theme of being writers from Vancouver, Felix is coming to us from Hong Kong.
How do you explain that?
The Vancouver of the East? I don't know. But you did live here for a while, anyways.
Like more than 10 years. So
yeah,
I think I qualify.
I don't think I've been anywhere outside of these borders for 10 years. What do I mean? I don't think. I know I haven't. So I haven't seen you in a while, Felix. So I was looking up on here, what are 5 quick questions you can ask somebody to catch up? And then I found an article, this is very me, that wasn't really that. And it was some high-minded thing where you are supposed to tell people about your... I don't know, it's like more than catching up. And they're supposed to be inspiring questions.
What is more than catching up?
Well, we'll find out. I'm gonna ask you some questions for anybody who hasn't seen you in a while.
Okay.
For some reason, they're all about me. These are the questions from the article. They're all about me for some reason. So number 1 is, if you didn't see me for a couple of years but heard that I did something remarkable, what would it be?
Are you sure there's an actual article?
This is an actual
you didn't
article.
just make these up.
I did not make these up.
What would my reaction be, and what would your reaction be?
About you?
Wait, so you've done something and I'm reacting?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's weird. They're entirely about me. There are questions for... It's called More Than Catching Up. And, question number 1 is entirely about me. Question number 2 is also about me. But come on, what remarkable thing? Come on, this is supposed to be inspiring.
Right. Am I supposed to think of a remarkable thing that...
So if you didn't see me, just off the top of your heart here, if you didn't see me for a couple of years but heard that I did something remarkable, what would it be?
Maybe this stream becomes something much greater. The zeitgeist of
it was
culture.
The next generation of online film. Number 2 is, I'm not going to make you answer all of these, but number 2 is, if you could introduce me to anyone in the world to spend time with, who would it be and why?
I would probably introduce you to Ryan Gosling. So
a person you know?
Return I would like us both to go to dinner with Ryan Gosling. You can leave.
Yeah, that's right. And then I can leave. If you could... Before you ask, I don't know. If you could plant an affirming thought in my head to be recalled whenever I'm having a bad day, what would it be?
I'm not that positive of a person. I don't know. I'd probably plant something super stupid in your head. Like McDonald's is around the corner.
McFlurries don't cost that much. The last 2. What book would be most helpful for me to read and why? And then the last one is, if I were to offer a course to help others based on my life experience and skills, what would it be titled?
Okay.
Anyways.
I'll probably... Okay, yeah. I don't have a good book. I would have chosen the Bible.
I feel like we've caught up. Good job. Good job to this incredibly strange... Sorry, I'm just trying to figure something out here. This incredibly strange thing that it has asked me to do. Well, Felix, in all seriousness, how are you and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I am pretty good. I'm really good. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to share in terms of what's been happening. I mean, you know what's been happening.
I do.
But
I don't know
I
either.
don't know. I mean, I've signed a contract and it did not say what I'm allowed to say, but so I assume I'm allowed to say stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't.
Well, here's what you can be reassured about. There is like maybe less than 10 people watching, and
there is. I just checked.
Most of them are probably people you or I know. So I wouldn't sweat that this will be the thing that is your undoing.
Yeah.
So what is it?
That's very true.
What do you have to say?
Yeah, over the past like 2 months, I've been talking to a bunch of agents and all that, and literary agents, and I ended up signing with the literary agents. And for the past few weeks, we've been working on getting a proposal of my book ready for publishers to take a look at. And that was a really grueling experience, and that was where I focused basically all my attention lately. I haven't even done any actual writing. I've just been working on this proposal and kind of going back to it a few times and editing everything, changing everything. Yeah, it was hard because I basically had to take the story that I have not written, plan all of it out, figure out what I'm going to do with each chapter, why each chapter is in the book, who's in what, like in terms of characters, who's in each chapter and whatnot. Just figure out all these things and kind of set them in stone. And I'm not used to working in that type of rigidity. Like I normally plan stuff out.
You're not used to working, to be fair.
Yes.
Almost every story you've ever told me is about you trying to get out of work in some respect. And then moments of pride you've had about work you've gotten out of. You're like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do this, but I discovered if I just click this button, they can't tell the difference. So I don't do it.
Right, and suddenly I had to commit to this thing, this proposal and everything. It was a really weird change of pace for me. Like, it wasn't a bad thing, but I just I don't know, wasn't quite used to that.
Well, that is very exciting. I've switched us over to Left on Red. I was curious if you had anything you wanted to recommend this week in story stuff, games, movies, or books.
I was posted this on Twitter, but I watched the Card Counter with Oscar Isaac, and it really surprised me because it's not a movie about card counting, as you might expect from the title. And a lot of these times when there's like casino or gambling movies, they inevitably turn into crime thrillers, and that's not what this movie is either. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's a lot more slow and novelistic than you might expect. And it's also about a topic that you would not expect to be about.
I have noticed
I don't know if it's good.
I have noticed that films are going in a novelistic story narrative style for the last about 10 or so years. Like, there was a pretty rigid, high-paced 3-act structure in film for a very long time. And then I'm trying to think of what movie I first really noticed it in, but at least the one that comes to mind for me was oh my god, I can't think of the name of it. I know that I always felt that way about a lot of Christopher Nolan films. There would be a point at which I would feel like this is where a movie prior to this would have sort of ended. even if not everything was wrapped up, it was sort of the peak of the action. And then he was the one who would extend it out more and do more character specific stuff and like that. He's not the creator of it by any means, but it was one of the biggest big name versions of that I saw. Yeah, so I've seen that in films, and I think it's an interesting approach. I do think sometimes you get movies like, what was Nolan's space one, Interstellar?
Yes.
Where it's like, it's good, but also, did it need to be that long? And was the payoff worth it, really?
Right.
Probably not. But then there's also films like the remake, the American remake of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I don't know if you ever saw the Swedish version of it, but the Swedish version of it is structured like a detective film, where it's very much about the detective's viewpoint, and then she's just sort of an interesting detective in a partnership with this other guy, and it ends with them solving the mystery. But if you know anything about the original Stieg Larsson or whatever his name is, writer of those books, the literal translation of the Swedish title, I think it is Men Who Hate Women, not Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And it's the book is, yes, about mystery and yes, about this sort of crime solving, but the book is really about this character and her experiences and all, because I don't know how much, if you know anything about that first movie's story and stuff, it's about people, being horrible to women and treating them as objects in the worst possible and most depraved ways. And that was the story of the book. And the book doesn't really end the way the Swedish movie does. It ends when her character arc in that particular film is complete, which is related to the idea that good or bad, there are, not every person needs to be a serial killer to be a man who basically uses and abandons women, right? And I thought that that was one case where the American remake was better, and that it, as much as the original was fun, it better understood the content it was adapting, and that it was, it just was a kind of film that couldn't have existed before, because in that 2000s you started to get narrative structures that were more like novels, where it was willing to have, I'm going to keep following the story past where a movie would. I got myself off on a tangent. All right. We've been ignoring chat, so I am sorry, chat. Let's give you some attention here. Drew just got in. Hello, Drew. As you can see, you missed nothing. Holly's House says, Felix, you're the greatest of all time. Good job. Let me know how it's done. Holly's House says, I really recommend The Mad Woman's Ball on Amazon. Absolutely exquisite. Big Drew says, I recently watched The Benchwarmers 2 Breaking Balls, and it was just terrible. If you want to waste an hour and a half and hate yourself afterwards, it's on Netflix. Who could have seen that coming?
Why is it on Netflix?
One of my favorite South Park jokes was a few years ago when Netflix was really approving just about everything, and the boys were trying to get a show on, and they phone, and the way Netflix call center answers their phone is they go, hello Netflix, you're approved, what's your show? That's how it got on. All right. So what are we doing today? Well, we're doing something that's probably too high concept to work, if I'm being honest, which is a bit of a trend with me. So you guys will have to bear with me a bit here. But basically what we're going to do is I found a thing that allows me to auto-generate film premises. And for some reason I was like, okay, well, I don't want to write like a film. And then with that comes this idea of secondary storytelling, I guess would be the word for it. Have you ever heard of such a thing as secondary storytelling? I don't know if that's a specific word, but it's sort of...
I think you made that up, right? I don't think it's an actual thing.
It's sort of a nested story. So, like, for example, what I wanted to try and do and see if we could do is do a review of this fake movie, but nest in that review revealing content about the reviewer as the actual story. Does that make sense? Like I said, too bad at a
so many layers deep.
Yeah, I think I already lost people on the description.
Yeah, you tried real hard in making this. You know what? Let's try it. I see where you're going with it.
At the very least,
interesting idea.
Though here's the two things. If I fail on that second layer, at least we'll have a fake, funny review of a fake movie. Okay, so
this is like a Mystery Theater 3000 kind of.
Except I'm literally making up all aspects of it. Okay, so here's the thing. I have a generator here. I have an action film trailers, which gives me kind of the premises. I have a B-movie film titler, which I think I'll probably start with. And I think those are the two... Yeah, those are the two things. Okay, so I'll give you an example here. A B-movie film title randomly generated is Beyond Disease, Dungeon of Hitler, Expedition to Atlantis, Forest Fire Chapter 3, I Married Pandora, etc. We'll pick one of those. And then I'll give you, guys, an example of the action film generator. It says, in a land of agony and mysteries, in an age of deception, a queen attempts to save the last living fertile woman. I think that is a movie. In a universe of demons, in a time of panic and madness, an elementalist and an outlaw seek freedom and oppose a syndicate of mutants, and so on. So they're little, like, premises of movies. I could probably put it up on the stream. Ooh, watch me break everything. Sure. I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. Whoops. There we go.
The suspense is killing me.
Well, I mean, if I was prepared, there would be no suspense, but that's why I'm never prepared, you know? You gotta have suspense. Okay, guys. Let's start with the title. We'll just go at this one bit at a time. Chat, this is where you guys come in. I have a B-movie titler here. I'm going to generate 5 titles, not 20. And we're going to pick one. So in order, number 1 is Famine with an exclamation mark. If you want that, put 1 in the chat. Number 2 is Fascination Mall. I don't know what that is, but put number 2 in the chat if you want Fascination Mall to be the movie. Number 3 is Innocence of Blood. Number 4 is The Cannibal Embrace of Joan of Arc.
What?
The Cannibal Embrace, like a hug, of Joan of Arc. And number 5 is The Graveyard of Hitler. So, those are the 5. I'll give it one more time. In the chat, you'll put a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on what title you want. Whichever one we go with, then we'll generate a bit of a premise out of it. The number 1 is Famine with an exclamation mark. Number 2 is Fascination Mall. Number 3 is Innocence of Blood. Number 4 is Cannibal Embrace of Joan of Arc. And number 5 is The Graveyard of Hitler. Okay. And while they go through with that, I'll ask you an actual question, Felix. What did you eat for dinner yesterday?
I had noodles.
What kind
Instant
of noodles?
Noodles.
Instant noodle, but what kind
Instant.
of instant? Are they like Ichiban? Like what?
What does that even mean? Is that a brand?
Yeah, it's a huge
It's the
international
one
brand.
with the little delivery kid. He's what? There's one with the kid dressed in blue, wearing like little sandals. He's got like a headband.
Okay, it's coming back
on.
to me. It's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Keep describing.
That's all he's like holding a little delivery thing of noodles.
What is the delivery thing? Is it steaming?
Yes.
Felix, I don't remember at all what you're talking about. I have no idea. I'm assuming this is a brand.
Yeah, it's like the Japanese brand. It's like every time you look at instant noodles, like it's that kid, that cartoon kid.
Okay, so in the chat we have Nathan votes for the Graveyard of Hitler. Big Drew votes for the Graveyard of Hitler. I really thought there'd be more for the Cannibal Embrace of Joan of Arc.
Me too.
GS says Famine, so that's 1 for Famine, 2 for 5. I am waiting on some others. Oh, also GS recommended The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, short story and creepy. I also believe that's available on Project Gutenberg, so it's free. Okay,
Sounds familiar.
Well, let's.
Did it get turned into a movie?
I don't know. It's an older book. If that makes any difference to you. I am looking for you. There we go. And you can go up. Okay. So. We gotta vote for Bill Hader as Hitler. Sounds like a role he's already done. Okay, so we have title of the film is The Graveyard of Hitler. Okay. Okay. Now I'm open to some premises from the chat here. If you guys have some ideas of what The Graveyard of Hitler should, like what its one sentence sort of description is. But I'm also going to use the generator here to see if we find something that lines up somewhat anyways. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do it 5 films again. In a crime-infested kingdom of danger, in a time of insanity and barbarism, a psychologist and a noble combat a cabal of undead. I mean...
Wow, that's a lot of adjectives in there. I lost track.
So a psychologist and a noble, like a prince or something like that, are fighting a cabal of the undead. I mean, that fits with the graveyard theme, Graveyard of Hitler.
That does, actually. That's not bad.
I'll read the other ones just in case. And by the way, chat, if there's one you particularly like, that's number 1. Number 2 is In a Forgotten Kingdom of Panic. In an age of prophecy, 3 nobles and a detective hope to prevent the apocalypse. That's not quite right, I don't think. Unless somehow the Graveyard of Hitler is related to the apocalypse. But that's number 2. Number 3, in a cursed universe of hopelessness, in an age of misery and insanity, 8 blacksmiths search for hope.
That's a lot of characters to juggle.
Look, I don't think that's gonna work here today, but that is 100% something I want to write more on. 8 blacksmiths, and so like using blacksmithing to come up with metaphors for hope.
The possibilities are endless there. That's pretty ripe. I like that too.
Yeah, no kidding. That'll be a sequel to your book.
I'll pitch that to my agent.
The first book is, just to summarize, a non-fiction book about your family losing family members in a plane crash. Then 2 is a full speculative fiction.
It's a palate cleanser for my readers.
It's a trilogy of books that you keep titling the same, and there's really nothing else in common. Big Drew says Bill Hader as Hitler and Alec Baldwin as Super Hitler. Okay, so in a crime-ridden universe of ghosts, a tomb robber opposes a horde of barbarians intent on controlling the universe. I mean, that just sounds like a million video games I've used. Yeah, but that's number 4. And in a sinful kingdom in an age of battle, a gladiator and a gladiator try to find vengeance. I think we broke the random generator there. I'm gonna go with number 1. We're not getting any words one way or another. In a crime-infested kingdom of danger, in a time of insanity and barbarism, a psychologist and a noble combat a cabal of undead. Okay. Summary. Okay, we already have some cast. Cast, not cat. That's Bill Hader as Hitler. I'm not going to do too much Hitler stuff because I feel like that's going to go down a hole that I don't want to go down. But Alec Baldwin as Super Hitler. Who else? I mean, who should be the protagonist, chat, and who should be the love interest? Do you read reviews of movies much?
I do, actually.
I do too. I like them.
Although a lot of times I read the first paragraph and I read the last paragraph and then the score. Does that consider reading?
Listen, man, there's no wrong way to absorb art, but no, that's not the right way to do it. Like I kind of grew up with the Siskel and Ebert thing, and I grew up with reading when I could, when it was in the newspapers and stuff like that, or watching the show of like Roger Ebert, who I think in a lot of ways defined modern film criticism to actually be more than just, 4 out of 5. It was fun kind of stuff.
Right.
GS says, I read the whole review, so there. Rachel McAdams as Eva Braun. No, Eva Braun's not coming back. Eva Braun, this is the far future. Eva Braun was not given the super mutation that Hitler took. Okay, so I will put Rachel McAdams in as the love interest, and who is like the
yeah, we need the noble and the psychologist.
Yeah,
right.
Well, she can be the psychologist. I could see that.
Okay.
As the psychologist, who's like the go-to lead guy right now that would be in a corny movie like this?
Is this corny? I thought this was the next Oscar bait. In
a crime-infested kingdom of danger, in a time of insanity and barbarism, a psychologist and a noble combat of cabal of undead. What kind of Oscars are you watching, man?
Hey, man.
Oscars.
Like, if Mad Max won an Oscar?
The Graveyard of Hitler. If this was like trying to be Oscar bait, The Graveyard of Hitler would be a premise like a person tries to reconnect with their German roots, which are complex, by
Which are complex.
by tending the garden that their grandfather used to, or something.
Right.
And then it would be a lot of long, slow stuff where they would draw metaphors between how could my grandfather grow such sweet beans on a vine, and then also be a part of the Hitler Youth or whatever. Like that would be the Oscar bait version. And everyone would love it for a year, and then the following year, people would be like, was this movie really problematic? Because it probably was. And then no one would ever talk about it again. Like Crash. Like the Cronenberg Crash, the one that swept the Oscars, and literally no one wants to talk about anymore, because it wasn't a great movie. Okay, we got a few here.
Oh, yeah. I like Holly's suggestion.
Which is?
No, and Big Drew. Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Chris Pratt. What? No, they said Chris Pratt.
As the psychologist? Okay. I mean, he's in everything right now, so why not?
Yeah.
Chris
so
Pratt.
I totally buy that.
I like Benedict Cumberbatch as the Noble. I know you hate Benedict Cumberbatch, but I like him.
Oh, I like Benedict.
Yeah, I know.
I just didn't like Doctor Strange so much.
I'm just giving you crap. I'm just spreading myths about you.
People will believe you.
Yeah, you should see what I say when you're not around. All right, Benedict Cumberbatch as the Noble. Man, they really came alive on the casting. Okay, so I have a cast. It may not be the best one. It may not be all your preferred ones, but we are a half an hour in, so I'd like to do some writing. How do most movie reviews start? These days, anyways. I feel like there's a very experiential strand in it now, where it's like it's about them coming to the theater with their own expectations, or they'll describe the opening scene and its impact on them or something.
Right. It does kind of start a little ways into a movie, and they describe a specific moment and then they go back in time to explain what the movie is and all that jazz. I do also. You're right. I do also see that about like the reviewer's expectations, or like what's happening in this moment in time in society, and how this movie does or doesn't match that.
Okay, and in my perspective, this person is basically doing freelance work for some newspaper. They had some tickets to a film festival, so this is like smaller time or not quite on the market yet stuff. And this kid is maybe 25, has a literary criticism degree or something, or a film criticism degree, and this is like, he feels like this is his chance to make his mark. But he's also writing this on a half-broken laptop in a suite that he doesn't really pay the rent on. His girlfriend does, and he mostly eats noodles. That's my rundown of the character. What would you bring to the table for the reviewer here?
Yeah, and like maybe his laptop is missing a key or something. And then he brings that into the review, but he somehow ties it in.
Okay. Okay. Oh man, there is so much stuff here today. Okay, so Paul Rudd is the psychologist. I do like that idea. No love interest, lol. Emma Stone is the love interest. We have a couple of options here. We have Rachel McAdams and Emma Stone. They talk about your expectations based on similar movies in the past, then tell you it's nothing like those movies. That's true. Or Meryl Streep as the love interest. For the movie, not your love interest, Drew. Okay. Okay, opening line of a pretentious new grad. He's gone down. He doesn't go to Starbucks because he doesn't like their manufactured vibe. He prefers to go to the one up the street that would actually cost more and doesn't taste as good. He's on an HP Chromebook. And he shouldn't have bought that because he can't really afford Wi-Fi. And you can't use a Chromebook without Wi-Fi. So basically he just has to go up there. Okay, so you're sitting there, you're in the room, you're ready to type about the graveyard of Hitler. One might assume that the schlocky premise of a film like The Graveyard of Hitler would preclude it from saying anything meaningful about the human condition. How does that work?
That's not okay. Yeah, I can roll with that.
GS says, but it's an artsy fartsy coffee shop, so cool. Yeah, it's got paintings that are like okay, like they obviously have put some time in, but they're not quite worth the time. But they have like acrylic paintings that are mostly of sunsets in different ambient colors, but they're mostly kind of look smeary, but they cost $250, and it's them supporting the local arts because it's a way of not having to pay for the art on their wall. He's using a first-gen iMac desktop PC that he drags to the coffee shop and sets up daily. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I was saying Chromebook because I feel like that is like the cheapest you can get now. But maybe he used his, when he first went to university, maybe he used his what's the word? Maybe he used his student loan money to buy like a new iMac and then regretted it because he didn't really have enough money to by the end of the semester. Anyways. Oh, you added something. Okay, and they would be correct. I'm going to add to that. Were they willing... and they would be correct. However... were they willing to wait it out to the end? Allow it to express its full vision. The average viewer might realize the worth of the project. From the
I like that.
Well,
I like how this review goes back and forth a little bit, messes with your expectations, like it's written by two people.
Well, I'm okay. So here's what I'm thinking, because I'm still playing with this secondary storytelling idea. I want him to somehow have somewhat identified with this film and people's reaction to it, and trying to, because he's trying to justify himself, right? He's at that point in life where he's trying to get jobs, but he has no experience. So he's like, why doesn't anybody give him a chance? Right? But maybe he actually hated it, was what I was thinking. Like, he actually hated the film, but somehow he has felt like a weird connection to it. So, from the first scene where a skinless Bill Hader rages from the ground and shouts to the hills. A scene... I'm going to have some pretty long-winded sentences here because I feel like I see those a lot. A scene... an homage. An homage to the early Warner Brothers works in monster films. You cannot deny it has charismatic energy that draws a normally implausible plot along with grace.
Oh my god, if I didn't know you any better, I would think that you do this for a living.
Bullshit and writing? Yeah, I kind of do. All right, what other scenes are in this film?
Well, we have to talk about Super Hitler.
We do.
We have to talk about how normal Hitler becomes Super Hitler, or is there two Hitlers? You know, has Hitler been cloned? And
how weird would it be in a film if there was like basically just an evolution of the character to Super Hitler, right, but you changed actors? That would be so disorienting. Usually these young film critics crap all over films in a pretentious way. Holly, we have not determined whether they're going to crap over the film or not. So far, it's been positive, sort of. But not in a way that can't be suddenly reversed. Because they do that. like, for example, it could say, you cannot deny it has charismatic energy that draws a normally implausible plot along with grace. But implausible that plot is. And often one wonders if the expectation was that we were served turpentine prior to film start, or if that was merely the aperitif of choice for the screenwriter. See, you can go back and forth. You can just keep working with it. Then you could go. But plot, nevertheless, plot alone does not justify a movie. One must observe the full sequence of lights and colors, and how they interplay with sound. I don't ever have to commit to anything. I can just say everything.
Oh my god. I'm wrapping my head around this. Give me a moment.
Okay. I'll just read it back. One might assume that the schlocky premise of a film like The Graveyard of Hitler would preclude it from saying anything meaningful about the human condition, and they would be correct. However, were they willing to wait it out to the end, allow it to express its full vision, the average viewer might realize the worth of the project. From the first scene, where a skinless Bill Hader rages from the ground and shouts to the hills, in homage to the early Warner Brothers film works in monster films, you cannot deny it has charismatic energy that draws a normally implausible plot along with grace. But implausible that plot is, and often one wonders if the expectation was that we were served turpentine prior to the film's start, or if that was merely the aperitif choice of the screenwriter. Nevertheless, plot alone does not justify a movie. One must observe the full sequence of lights and colors and how they interplay with sound. Nathan says, I challenge you to start 7 consecutive sentences with nevertheless. Get out of the way, Felix. This is my day. Okay, we have 1 sentence down.
No, you're not doing this.
Of course I am. Nevertheless. Moving back to the main exchange of the film, which is the banter between I like these little underhanded jabs that they do between the normally charming Cumberbatch. Without like saying what that actually means. The normally charming Cumberbatch and the Chris Pratt
Chris Pratt in this?
Yeah, that was the psychologist.
Okay.
The cast list is up above if you wanted to see it. They're saying they want to see you do some nevertheless sentences.
Oh my god, I don't want to do them.
That's okay.
I've never started a sentence with nevertheless.
It just is a way of saying, like, it's a way of changing the topic. It's not a good thing to do in writing, so that's a good sign. Because it's basically you saying, everything I just said, I don't really have a liaison to this. So, here's another thing. I mean, it can be like, here's a side point, but with that said, let's go back to the main point. But it's always a somewhat indicating a break in sequence. Okay, between the normally charming Benedict Cumberbatch and the Chris Pratt and Chris Pratt.
And the Chris Pratt with the capital the.
And Chris Pratt, the probably overexposed actor of de jour. Okay, go for it.
God.
Do a nevertheless sentence. Think about like what the next, because we're talking about Benedict Cumberbatch and Chris Pratt's banter. I think I gave you a bit there because I sort of changed the topic a bit with the overexposed actor.
And I have to start another sentence with nevertheless?
You have to, yeah. They want us to do 7 consecutive sentences that start with nevertheless. I've done 2, so you need to do 1.
Oh my.
And then I will do another one. Here, I'll start it for you. Nevertheless, comma. Oh man, okay, so evolution of Hater Hitler to Baldwin Super Hitler, then Denzel Washington Mecha Hitler. Oh my god. You know what I do like about you, Chad, is that you really embrace this kind of anime level of absurdity that I can't fit into short stories, but I do greatly appreciate and respect the imagination in the group. I mean, obviously, I'm on my own time. I'm going to go and write about the evolution of Hater Hitler to Super Hitler to Mecha Hitler. I wonder if the algorithm in YouTube picks up on us saying Hitler and whether we can push down out of the algorithm. Okay, so Holly's House says, don't forget the critic usually has a complete unreasonable unreasonable hatred for one of the actors and can't really hide it. I guess that's going to be Cumberbatch. Give Felix a couple of nevertheless. Is broadening your horizons try nevertheless, says GS. And then we got some saucy names for Benedict Cumberbatch. I saw one earlier. Where did it go? Benadryl Cucumber Patch. That was it. From Big Drew. All right. What does he have so far? Oh, I like that we're going personal here. Nevertheless, as a recent graduate who has seen his own share of career hardship, I cannot help but feel a strange kinship for the characters of Hitler, Super Hitler, and Mecha Hitler. Well played. Okay. What am I touching? I just hope I didn't ruin something. I don't know what I was on and typing, but there we are. Nevertheless, so we're up to 4.
3 more to go. More than halfway there.
This
Yeah,
is
Nathan,
probably
that
how
was,
we're going to end it.
on a nevertheless.
Holly's house is talking about the children. I do mark this as not for kids. They ask you this when you put the video up for reasons that are fairly apparent. While I don't think it's the end of the world if a kid sees it, there is no promise that this is kid friendly. Okay, so I cannot help but feel a strange kinship for the characters of Hitler, Super Hitler, and Mecha Hitler. Nevertheless, I do not feel a strange kinship or any kinship with any character recently played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Here portraying... I hate these run-on sentences, but I feel like that's on brand. Here portraying... What was he portraying? The noble. A pompous noble barely removed from his day-to-day... Barely removed from the actor's own personality.
Wow.
I'll get you to do one more nevertheless, and I can do the other ones.
You really shit on like everybody.
I don't have a problem. I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but this guy I don't. Nathan is laughing very hard at something. I don't know what specifically. There's a delay on the stream, so if you guys are laughing, I never quite know what it is unless there's an indication. Holly's house says Penny's world has ended so many times thanks to Litgames. Yeah, that's true. But you know, Penny's not that young. She's pretty young. I don't know how I'll feel about it tomorrow. I came up with this idea yesterday, and I've become kind of charmed by the idea of writing reviews as a certain character like this. Like I could totally write a review, or we could collectively write a review and put them up on the website as like this desperate grad student and his pretentious opinions under obviously assumed names or something like that, something that made it clear it was satire. Felix's nevertheless sentence. Oh, Nathan really liked your sentence. Do you think you guys out there in chat, if I like once a month in character like this made a really ridiculous review of a film and put it up, do you think you guys would actually go to the website and read and enjoy a thing like that? Or should I not mark up my otherwise sincere website with with this nonsense? Because in case you don't know, I mean, we're not explicitly a comedy setup, obviously. Right. Obviously, we're not that funny to maintain that expectation. All right, what do you have so far? Nevertheless, Chris Pratt himself more than carries his own weight. Bringing to life what should have been a flat protagonist with dimensions of pain, anguish, and longing. Oh my god. He likes Chris Pratt more than...
But not Benedict. No. Who's this Benedict guy who cannot act? Bring on Chris Pratt.
It might be a bit smaller, Holly. I can put it up a size. There we go.
Oh man, Big Drew has a better suggestion for that last adjective. He says dimensions of pain, anguish, and unbridled stupidity.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's change it to that. Unbridled stupidity. I like that.
Okay, so we have to come up with another nevertheless. Nevertheless, the star of the film is neither of these men. The latter or the lesser. Sorry, I have to pause and laugh at my own pretentious joke that I don't think anybody else got. But rather, the star is their relationship, marked with acrimony and humor in even proportion, and with the exchange of blows expected of a...
I need to pull up
heavyweight
a dictionary as I watch you write this. I have no idea what acrimony means. It sounds like a law thing.
I think you're thinking of alimony, which is a very different thing. With exchange of blows expected of a heavyweight boxer coddling a new featherweight to the ring. What I like about this is it's so long, I don't think anybody really remembers what it's about by the end. Okay, how many neverthelesses do we have? There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're getting longer.
Oh my god.
We need 2 more. Do you have an idea for 2 more?
Let's do a short sentence. We gotta, mix up sentence structure a little bit.
Wait.
Keep the reader interested.
Nevertheless, I liked this aspect more than the co-star of the rivalry between the multi-generational Hitler.
What?
Confusingly played by 3 actors. 3 different actors. There we go. We only need 1 more. I guess I should say I like this relationship.
I got the last one.
Nathan says I would, but it's on brand for me. I'm assuming that has to do with the idea of me reading fake reviews or writing them. Big Drew says a heavyweight boxer coddling a sea bass. Corrected it to coddling, but also cuddling a sea bass is a hilarious image. Nevertheless, I just digress from the real star of the show, which is the graveyard of Hitler itself, a field in northwest Canada. Where I grew up. Then we can draw it back to him.
Okay. He grew up on a field?
No, he grew up in northwest Canada. That was the noun. Similar to where I grew up.
Okay.
Though I feel the the film succeeds on its sincerity and energy and that peculiar charm only things from northwest Canada can bring. The film will nonetheless likely be left to the side like the keycap for a key for a key that is lost in a cough shop.
I like that the keycap has not factored into this whole review prior to this sentence.
Well, because it would be impossible to keep up with that. If you are a boy still trying to find your joy. That rhymes, I didn't mean it to. Then Graveyard. No, don't autocorrect. Graveyard. Oh, wait.
Good catch.
Graveyard of Hitler is worth the Tim.
The Tim.
Oh, right. The Tim. To hat. All right, I'm gonna read this because we're reaching our end here. Man, these always go longer, like physically longer than I think they're gonna be. Okay, so this is about the movie The Graveyard of Hitler, but we never gave this guy a name. Chat, while I read this, our reviewer needs a name. The title is The Graveyard of Hitler. The summary is: in a crime-infested kingdom of danger, in a time of insanity and barbarism, a psychologist and a noble combat a cabal of undead. Bill Hader as Hitler, Alec Baldwin as Super Hitler. I think there was a Denzel Washington as Mecha Hitler. Every time I see Denzel Washington these days, it's just him basically being a character from one of his golden era movies, lecturing people. Like, that's all it is. And it's always him like, well, you got to think about it this way. And you're like, can you just like have a conversation, man? It's like he can't leave the character now. He's been kind of a character actor for a while, and now that's just him.
You can't say that to Denzel. You can't be like, stop lecturing me, Denzel. He knows everything, man.
That's right. You have Morgan Freeman for voiceovers, and you have Denzel Washington for lectures.
As your life coach.
Yeah, he's got that kind of snappy wisdom way of working. Okay, so one might assume that the schlocky premise of a film like The Graveyard of Hitler would preclude it from saying anything meaningful about the human condition. And they would be correct. However, were they willing to wait it out to the end, allow it to express its full vision, the average viewer might realize the worth of the project. From the first scene, where a skinless Bill Hader rages from the ground and shouts to the hills, in homage to the early Warner Brothers works in monster films. You cannot deny it has charismatic energy that draws a normally implausible plot along with grace. But implausible that plot is, and often one wonders if the expectation was that we were served turpentine prior to the film's start, or if that was merely the aperitif for choice of the screenwriter. Nevertheless, plot alone does not justify a movie. One must observe the full sequence of lights and colors and how they interplay with sound. Nevertheless, moving back to the main exchange of the film, which is the banter between the normally charming Benedict Cumberbatch and Chris Pratt, the probably overexposed actor of du jour. Nevertheless, as a recent graduate who has seen his own share of career hardships, I cannot help but feel a strange kinship for the characters of Hitler, Super Hitler, and Mecha Hitler. Nevertheless, I do not feel a stranger kinship or any kinship for any character recently played by Benedict Cumberbatch, here portraying a pompous noble barely removed from the actor's own personality. Nevertheless, Chris Pratt himself more than carries his own weight, bringing to life what should have been a flat protagonist with dimensions of pain, anguish, and unbridled stupidity. Nevertheless, the star of the film is neither of these men, the latter or the lesser, but rather the star is their relationship, marked with acrimony and humor in even proportion, and with exchange of blows expected of a heavyweight boxer coddling a new featherweight to the ring. In the ring. Nevertheless, I like this relationship more than the co-star of the rivalry between the multi-generational Hitler, confusingly played by 3 different actors. Nevertheless, I digress from the real star of the show, which is the graveyard of Hitler itself, a field in northwest Canada similar to where I grew up. Though I feel this film exceeds on its sincerity and energy and that peculiar charm that only things from the northwest Canada can bring, the film will nonetheless likely be left to the side like the keycap for a key that is lost in a cough shop. If you are a boy still trying to find your joy, then Graveyard of Hitler is worth the time to hat.
Congratulations. You've brought to life this character, and now I want to punch that character.
Okay, what names did we get? Okay. GS says take the E out of every Hitler and YouTube won't flag you. YouTube scans the dialogue of videos though too. Holly's house. Oh, he's an Alex for sure. GS says Gomer Pinch Pot. Holly's house says Alex Edwards. He writes for BuzzFeed Entertainment. Nathan says Theodore Cumberbatch, which I love because I love the idea that it's actually like the less successful younger brother of Benedict Cumberbatch, and that's why he hates them. Or he's like a cousin or something. Reviewer named Nathaniel, the Smashburger King of Oleander. Smashburgers are great. And Holly's house says Alex Edward has been writing for BuzzFeed for 5 years. He likes Stanley Kubrick, his cats Milo and Pete, and succulents. I like Stanley Kubrick. Maybe that's why I'm good at playing
this. What's that say about you?
It says I have a lot of patience in film. That's what it says. The big name that I don't like is Orson Welles. I did film school, by the way, which is part of why I can write this character so well. I met these kids. I did some film school, I should say, not as like a degree, but I did classes in it and some retreat kind of things where you anyways, the point is, I met these people, and they were insufferable, and one of them was my teacher, who he was teaching a class on film studies in the summer, and because I used to have to do 3 courses a semester, 3 semesters a year, because I was working to pay for it. And he was doing the summer class for film studies. The normal film studies teacher had like quit that spring. So this was his first thing. And when I always go and talk to teachers between classes and stuff. I don't know why I always like talking. They tell you things that you can't learn otherwise.
Right. And
he said, I don't really know if you can teach this stuff, but I kind of needed a job. And I was like, well, I hope you can. And he did teach me things, but then he wanted us to write a paper on a film, obviously. And I think I wrote it on 7. And I wanted to talk about some simple, I don't remember what the hell it was about, so nobody asked me. But I wrote this paper. To put in perspective, I was an A student, with the exception of like 1 course. I never could really wrap my head around art history for some reason. I'm going to put that on me. Art history's fine. I just never quite understood it well enough. But film I knew. Like, film was a thing that I came into. It was kind of whatever. Anyways, I put this paper together based on what I knew, and I submitted it to him. He gave me like a C+ or something like brutal. And so I was like, okay, well, that's significant, right? So I went up to him after class and I said, I'm surprised, but obviously I didn't quite understand what I'm doing. What could have I done to improve it? Like, what would have helped? And he said, it's so hard to grade these things, you know? It's so hard to, like, tell a person they're right or wrong or whatever. You know, it's hard to do. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then he just kind of walked away. And I wanted to, but this is a bad idea as a school, to say, but you did grade it. And it's going on my report card and record. And I have another assignment for you. So why don't you tell me what went through your head? Like, now is not the time to be philosophical, bud. Anyways, he never did explain himself. And I hate that man.
Wow, man of mystery. Wait, do you know what happened to that man in the years afterwards? Is he still teaching? Is he
no idea.
Doing film reviews?
No idea. I assume this is what he's doing. I don't know. Who cares? Fuck him.
So much hatred.
Well, I do, because like it's like if I came to you when you submitted writing and I said to you, wow, this is way off the mark. Way off the mark. This is below average. And you were like, what's off the mark? And I was like, you know, writing's really subjective. You'd be like, no, you opened with a statement. And then when I asked you to expand on it in a useful way, so it wasn't just a blanket insult, you suddenly became a subjective postmodernist philosopher. Anyways, this has been my new section called The Chip on My Shoulder by Rory. Rory killed that guy. I wish I killed that guy. Jesus.
Is this all to get back at him?
No, this would have been
whole thing today?
This wouldn't have been way worse if I was trying to get back at him. I don't know if anybody really understands that basically giving someone a really low grade and then not giving, because he didn't even put notes on the goddamn essay, not telling a person why and refusing to discuss it is the equivalent of formally insulting someone. Because the difference between an insult and constructive criticism is something you can build and improve on. An insult isn't, right? So it's the difference between saying that sucks and saying I can't relate to the character because we never get his internal dialogue or something, right? where like there is something you can build on. Yeah, next week, elaborate vengeance plots. Okay, so that has been my first and last version of the Rory has a chip on his shoulder section. The name we're going with, okay, I'm going to put this on you. We have a few options. Gomer Penchpot, Alex Edwards, and I think Nathaniel, the King of Oleander, the Smashburger King of Oleander.
Yeah, I like the last name, Cumberbatch. I like that he might be
Theodore
related to the actual
Cumberbatch, yeah.
But I don't like the name Theodore.
Gomer? We could use one of the other first names. Gomer, Alex, Nathaniel.
Yeah, you know what? Gomer
Cumberbatch?
Got a cool ring to it.
I agree. Written by Gomer Cumberbatch. And I think we're done. All right. I had a bunch of things I was thinking of doing for our last section. Normally we do the unqualified advice. I don't really have any advice about this. And I feel like I ate the unqualified advice time by ranting about my teacher. So, I mean, I think we're basically at the end of the show. I don't think I need to do more than that. I was thinking of doing a thing where we show like the worst writing we've ever done, like where we read a sentence or two from really bad writing of ours.
Right.
And you had a brilliant thing that you wanted to do, but I can't play it because it's copyrighted music, which was a music video that you made. It's you know what was perfect about it when I was watching it is it's not obviously bad. It's not like comically cornball bad. It's subtly bad. It's the little decisions that somebody who's just a little too young and green at it would make. Yeah. A little too sentimental.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah.
So it's basically a music video. And my favorite moment of it was there was this point where we were just looking at your butt for a long time. And I was like, what is with this shot of like your butt for such a long time? And then I realized what was happening was, spoiler alert, if you ever see this video, what was happening was there was a lady there playing a ukulele, as in like ghostly garb. And you had done an in-camera effect where as you climbed up on this rock, you were covering while they left. So that once you stood up, they were gone. But obviously that took a little longer than you thought. Because what it actually amounted to was we saw for a moment the woman on the rock with the ukulele. Then you climbed up and it was just, honest to God, 6 seconds of your butt. And then you stood up.
Yeah. I mean, it was like we filmed like the middle of nowhere. It was just like weird. It wasn't even a hike, you know. It was just like the side of a mountain camp, and like the girl had difficulties getting out of the shot, so it was like I couldn't climb too fast and stuff. But yeah, for everybody that hasn't seen it, keep in mind I was 20 when I filmed this. This was 7 years ago, right? And this was really my first foray into trying to craft a story. And like I listened to this song, and for some reason I was inspired with a story in my head. So I was like, you know, I'm not just gonna write it. I'm gonna try to like film it.
Yeah, I mean,
very low budgetly, I did.
I don't even think you remember this, but on YouTube there is a student film I made with a couple of other people at 19 or 18. I must have been 19. And I'm not making it easier for anybody to find it, by the way. I don't hate it as much as I probably should, but it is a thing where like you got to make it at some point. You got to make videos at some point. I had made a lot of videos through high school, but mostly they were almost like vaudeville comedy. I don't know why that was what we did. It was me and a friend used to make them. Anyways, I wish I could play this video for you guys, but it's copyrighted music. And YouTube is a big jerk about that. So if Felix wants to find another way to put it up, he's welcome to. You can always follow him on Instagram, and when he finds a way, he can put it up there. Anyways, yeah, Brig Drew just said, get out of the damn shop. You guys are right. The shop is basically past close. And we're only insured during our open hours. And I still have to cash out. And we had some people come by today. We got a new Dan Brown book in. That always gets people in. So, I actually have cash to cash out. I appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out in the shop here. But, yeah, I mean, I got to close up. I appreciate you guys coming by, but Felix, you too. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, I came for Dan Brown.
Dan Brown and the Ghostwriter's whimsy. Yeah, if you guys could just find the back door and get the hell out. We're closed.
Bye.